Hi, I'm Trish Clark. I run the New Haven 48-Hour Film Project, and I am here today to tell you a little bit about what that is. It's a film competition. It's the longest running worldwide film competition, and it's in its 12th year in New Haven this summer in July, where I have teams of filmmakers sign up to make a film in 48 hours. On a Friday night, I give the teams a specific character, prop, and line of dialogue, and they pick a film genre out of the hat. And then they have to make a film in 48 hours. After that, we're going to screen it the week later, and then we're going to have, about a month later, awards, so that you can find out who won Best Film, Best Actor, Best Cinematographer, you name it, I've got all the awards. But here's a little clip that explains the whole thing for you.
Oh, hello. So what are you doing this weekend? Staying home? Watching a movie? Ever thought about making a movie? Welcome to the 48-Hour Film Project, where you and a group of friends, or even random strangers, will have 48 hours to make a movie. I know, the title kind of speaks for itself, but you'll get over it. You're in the show. Here's how it works. You're given a character, one prop, and a line of dialogue. Then you choose your genre from a hat. Remember, all 4 elements must be in your 4 to 7 minute movie. Other than that, you're good to go.
Experimental snuff.
Good luck with that one. First, you write the movie. It's up to you how it gets done. But remember, behind every great movie is a great script. Shoot for that. Not that. Every great script needs a great cast. Look for those diamonds in the rough.
No wire hangers ever!
Very rough. Now it's off to shoot your mini opus, where your cast and crew will suffer the elements for the love of their craft. Yay, it's cold! Ooh, mini donuts. Yeah.
You have got to be kidding me!
Action! I don't care if there's a hurricane! Marry me!
Yes!
I love you!
I'm pretty sure we're gonna die!
Not today!
To the editing room, where you splice, paste, and render to your heart's content. Don't look at me. Don't forget to add music. Hit it. Enough. Enough. Once you finish your movie, the only thing left is to hand it in. Nice job. Remember, you only have 48 hours to complete this, so don't be late. Makes a great coaster, buddy. It's all right. The hard part is done. It's time to celebrate with your friends and fellow 48-hour film participants as you screen all the entries at your local movie theater. This is the 48-Hour Film Project.
So that gives you a little bit more insight into what the 48-Hour Film Project is. And now I'm going to introduce some of my 48 veterans. So I have 3 or 4 teams represented here today, and we have 3 lovely gentlemen here with me, and we have 2 people joining us via Zoom. So first off, Ben Hecht is part of Dutch Elm Disease, and he has been making 48s here in New Haven. This is his 10th year making a 48-hour film project. And next we have Mike Illian.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm saying everything right. I'm sure I'm going to mess it up at some point. But Mike runs the West Haven Film Collective, and this is going to be your 4th 48 year.
Yes.
Yep. And then with Mike today on his team this year is Kurt Bouche.
Bouche. Yeah.
And so Kurt has been on Mike's team and on Solar Illumina and on Doug's
team.
Doug Dangerbond's team many times. So he's been on a vast variety of 48 teams. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Via Zoom, we have 2 members from Jabroni Studios. We have Annie Stutzman. Did I say it right?
You got it.
Okay. And Cary White. And so they are on vacation right now, and so they're up in Maine, but they have decided to very graciously join us today. And this is your 5th 48 year. Right?
Yes.
Coming into our 5th, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So part of the 48 is you have to make the film in 48 hours, like I said, but we get people who are, it's the first time they've picked up a camera to people who have done this, and by making 48s for 10 years, but also just been in the film production industry for years. So we have a wide range of people that come to make the 48s. As someone I'll start with you, Ben, as the oldest veteran that I have here with us. What made you decide to start taking part in the 48-hour film project?
Ooh, why did I start? That's a really good question. I think it was probably you, first of all. I was brought to a mixer by a mutual friend, and
at Christie's.
At Christie's,
yeah.
And he told me all about it. I'm like, you know what? I want to make a film, and I pulled together 4 friends, and it was a disaster of a weekend, and we made a film. And then I didn't do it for 2 years, so.
Right, you took a break,
yeah.
And then came back.
Mm-hmm.
And what about you, Mike? What brought you to the 48?
Kurt actually brought me. He asked me if I wanted to go work with Doug, and on his team, I guess. And I ended up working Boom. I had been wanting to make films. I'd been wanting to make films most of my life, and so I'd been taking up photography and things like that to learn how to do cameras and stuff. But basically, I got in with Doug. I had no idea what it was until I got there, and I had a blast working Boom for his team.
I can imagine that Doug's team is probably one of the most fun teams to be on.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I met Doug. I think it's like 25 or 30 years ago, like at CTV, because we were talking about we know each other. We're at a public access channel now, and we have all a public access connection too, which you could just make anything you want, and you get to meet a lot of great people too. And so, you've been on so many teams.
Yeah, a number of years ago, 8, 9 years ago, I don't even know how long now. My friend Lana wanted to do the 48-hour film project. And we decided to look for a team. We went to a mixer. That's where I met Doug and also Sean Morse. Mm-hmm. And so I worked with him. Then that got me involved because Sean's involved in public access television also. That got me involved in that. And that's how I met Mike. And then I dragged him in. So.
I actually like that when teams start as one team and then morph into different teams, or you've been on so many different teams. It's nice because that's part of the mixers and the networking, that you can join different teams or see where you're needed and do different aspects of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Also, just the different teams have different energies sometimes, and it's also fun that I brought Mike into Doug's team. I also brought Tiffy into Mike's team, part of Solo Lumina, and then I've worked on their teams.
Right, and they created their own team.
Yeah, it seems to grow. I see a lot of people splitting off because they want to do their own team. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I secretly love when that happens. So what about you, Jabronis? When did you decide to take part? Did I meet you guys at one of the meet and greets on Orange Street when the street was open? Is that the first time I saw you guys?
I think so, yeah. Baobab Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first year I did it. And yeah, I just moved to the city, was still kind of filling out my community, and I remember doing or seeing one of these when I was a kid, and so I just put a message out to some of my friends being like, hey, people are interested in this, and yeah, everyone, I had 10 or 15 friends have just rallied around it, and it's now our thing, so.
Now your thing, I like that. Well, and I love that I think you had your first year, I know I always go back to this, I was very memorable because you had the Jabroni's Auto theme song in your clip. And I can get you a clip of that. But I love that you then threw back to it 2 films later. You kept the recreate. I actually and I know that's something, Ben, that you've done. You've used previous props or characters, and I think that's to veterans. That's a nice nod to really remember all about New Haven and all about what we've done. And then it's almost like an inside joke for everyone in the audience who knows it. Although I say as a 48 tip, don't do inside jokes because the audience may not get it if it's just a joke for your cast and crew. But if it's a 48 joke, I think people get it. And I mean, like, I love when that was just like playing on the radio in the car, like, you know, a couple films later.
We like to say it's all part of an extended universe.
That's true. That's true. How do you guys feel, and, you know, everybody can answer or answer in parts, like, we do have a listing of what the film genres are each year. So you know that you will possibly get one of these genres. It used to be that it was one genre, and Ben, you may be the only one that remembers it. You just got one. Mm-hmm. And then if you didn't like it, you had the option of choosing a wild card, which meant you could give it back to me, but then no backsies. You got what I gave you as the wild card. So you could have gotten something. You could have handed me comedy and gotten Western, and like, oh well, now that's what you've got. But now, over the last few years, it's like you get two film genres. And so, I mean, I have the listing of what all the film genres are this year, and they're on the website as well, but there's like 7 new genres this year, which are kind of, you didn't even know that, it looks like. So, like, new genres this year are doppelganger, mystery identity, heist, legal film, revenge, and tearjerker. But my favorite mockumentary is back again, too. So, like, I'm very happy about that. But is there something that you are so happy to get or so worried to get in terms of a film genre? And I could go over the whole list of what they are, but then it's like 30 if you get all of them, because you can morph the two films into one. I don't recommend that because that confuses the judges and can sometimes be annoying. But sometimes, like, for example, you got a food film one year, and you also had dark comedy.
Yes.
But you made a dark comedy food film. But you put dark comedy in the title. Like, it kind of worked. But, like, I've very rarely seen it work using two film genres. But what, you know, what do you want in a film genre for the 48?
I mean, it's last year we got sci-fi, and that was pretty cool. But I don't know. I mean, I like some of the ones that are a little bit more generic. Mm-hmm. Like Film de Femme is great, especially since I have a lot of.
They can talk about that.
I have a lot. I have a lot of actors who are women, and it's great because it's a very open idea. It could be a comedy, it could be a drama, it could be a buddy film, it could be a slasher.
Well, we try to make it as open as, you know, you want it to be for interpretation. So Film de Femme is a very wide open.
So something like that is fantastic. You know, something would worry me, something like musical. I mean, I do have a slight advantage because my wife teaches dance, and she's very versed in her thesis, her master's thesis for dance education was about teaching choreography to the general public. So I do have a slight advantage if there's a musical, but it's not, you know. And I write music. I tend to score on my own films, but putting something like that together sounds like a real absolute nightmare, to be honest.
And this year there's no musical and no music film.
Oh.
This is like the first year I think that there's been no musical, because like that used to be the dreaded combo, musical or Western. But but like it's weird. But you've gotten Film de Femme almost every time.
Every year.
Yeah, which is fine because we also like to highlight our team, which has a lot of femme on it. But we're also, the one time we don't take Trish's advice is we are psychotic and try and always do both, because it just so happens that it's going to be a film de femme no matter what. So we've ended up, I think, doing both each time just by accident.
Well, but yeah, with such a female-based team, it almost is just natural for you to have that as your thing. Yeah. It is funny though. Every time you draw, you're like, there it is again.
It's at this point, yeah. I'll be sad if we don't get it this year. Honestly.
Well, it is still there. So there you go. And so what now? You've gotten. I can even say, like, you've probably gotten, Ben, almost, you've gotten a lot of different ones. You've gotten period piece. Twice. Road movie twice.
I did do film de femme as well.
Yeah.
We got best genre for that.
But like you've gotten a variety. And you've probably gotten a variety because you've been on so many teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which ones do you like best when you have like the lot of options?
I like the more specific ones personally. I'm excited for the new categories too. I think
there's some really specific,
ones. But like getting comedy is like a kiss of death. It's like you have to be funny. Like this is going to be funny. It's we make these films that it's nice to make them funny, but like to make that like the drive of like it's a comedy. There's a lot of pressure on that.
I feel like so many teams want comedy so badly, and then they get it, and you're like eyes bugged out.
No, exactly.
Almost every time a team gets comedy, they're the least funny 48s, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, and I don't know if that they're trying too hard or whatever, but then I also feel like there's a little bit of comedy in almost every 48.
Right.
Whether you try to or not, I feel like it naturally comes out. But, you never know what you're going to get that weekend, and you have to write it after you get it. So what about you? Like, so many different teams.
I actually am a little sad about musical not being there because the number of teams I've been on, I've always thought, wouldn't it be a wonderful disaster to have musical and just have to like figure that out and just make it happen? Yeah, so I'm a little sad that that's gone because I was just imagining, I can imagine Doug pulling it off.
Somebody did a musical when it wasn't their genre.
And just like added to their genre?
Added it to their genre, and I was like, that's a choice. That's but that was because of their cast. Like they had that, that was who they had lined up. So it's like they worked it in. But
I've threatened my team that like if musical comes up, I'm picking it because they never get it, and they're like, well, that's all on you then. So.
And I don't think I've ever seen one in screenings.
We've seen a few.
I think in 12 years we've had 2 or 3. It's something that I think a lot of teams do steer away from. I mean, you have to have someone who could do music in it or sing. You hope. But then again, karaoke, you can be bad and it's fine too. So, it turns into its own comedy. You never know. So we talking a little bit about genres. What do you feel about when I give out the required elements, the character, prop, and line of dialogue? Are those scary items? How do you, because you have to, if people don't know, even though I played the video before, you have to write it and, you're writing, acting, filming, doing everything over the weekend. So you don't know anything beforehand. So you don't know if you have to add in, let's see. Last year, we had Robin Laurel, who was a contractor.
That was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. Sorry, right. So last year was Victoria or Vincent Bolton, an Olympic alternate, because we happened to be filming during the Olympics. So that was our character. And we had the prop was a microphone. So, but again, so Robin Laurel 2 years ago was a contractor. So you have to put in the male or female character, and they have to have that occupation or usually it's an occupation, but 1 year it was a liar, so it was just who they are. But how does that go into your writing scheme when you're thinking about making the 48? Probably late Friday night when you're starting all your writing.
It really depends because the first one we did, the first one we did, it was the prop was a children's book. Mm-hmm. So we wrote the story actually around it, and I still have that prop at home. The Everyone Bleeds.
That Alana made,
yeah.
Awesome.
So I've got that, and then, but last year, we were able to. I started taking my own advice about making things as simple as possible, and doing a lot of show, don't tell. So it was really easy to start shoehorning in a line of dialogue and the microphone. A microphone's really easy because you just have to have somebody, that's a really easy prop to have, something like that. As long as it's not something like a jet fighter or a car.
It should be a prop that can work, kind of. fairly generically. And it doesn't have to, it just has to be seen on film.
Yeah, right.
It could be, it could be a pen, like I happen to be holding a pen. Like, it could just be in the background. It doesn't have to be featured and highlighted, although a lot of people do that. And sometimes people throw it in a lot of times because if it gets cut out in editing, you're disqualified. Right. So there's that too. But and same with the character. It could just be. It doesn't have to be the main character. It just has to be seen on screen. You could even make up the character and have them on a phone screen, as you did one year. Yeah. And I get reminded on Facebook because I'm Facebook friends with your character that you created for 48, so I get his birthday reminder.
Oh, Charles Hollandaise.
Oh, Charles Hollandaise. So that was very funny. But you had he was on screen. Yeah. So you do have, again, we try to, the 48 tries to make it as wide open for you as possible. How do you guys feel about that? Like, do you write Friday night and then go from there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's always a balance between like using the required elements as like an enabling constraint to like help our brainstorming not go off the rails, by using that to like define the plot, or kind of just like throwing them in after we've written the plot. I kind of prefer the former just because it makes the brainstorming a bit simpler sometimes, but usually turns out that we've got a better story without them.
But it's fun. I like the idea of figuring out how they're related and how we can put it into the script.
Mm.
So, but in brainstorming, how big is everybody's team, or does that vary from year to year? Because kind of something that was mentioned, I think it's better to be simple and not overthink it or overdo it, because you just have 48 hours. The clock is ticking the whole time. That's literally the competition. And, if you have, 10 locations, you're probably screwed. Just moving the cast and crew. But, if you have one location that you could do, use in lots of different ways, that works out really well. If you have a small crew versus a big crew, but I feel like your team's pretty big, Jabronis. Is that?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's like 10 or 12 at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our brainstorming, sessions, as you can imagine, can get pretty. There's a lot of opinions. So we've gotten pretty good at cutting the brainstorming to an hour or two, and then having a team of 2 or 3 writers just kind of incorporate everyone's opinions and create something that actually makes sense.
So you scale down who's doing what function. So you scale down the writers. I think that's a smart idea. And what are the sizes of your teams? They varied, right?
Yeah, they vary. Anywhere from 5 to 9. That's been historically, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And again, people wear the same hats, or will wear more than one hat.
People will wear multiple hats. Yeah. Very much.
Oh, my team, I think at this point is, I think we're maybe 10 people. And
your first team was huge, though, wasn't it? I feel like your first team was really big. With the fight scene and everything, wasn't that right?
Oh, yeah. Never doing a fight scene again. But anyway, but what I've done, though, is I've broken everything up so that Friday night is mainly for writing, and I have 4 people that do the writing. And my method is that as soon as I get all the elements, I start texting them back to my house, and then usually the venue's about 20 minutes away, 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. I say, okay, you have 15, 20 minutes to come up with a log line and pitch me your idea when I get back to the house. So I get back to the house, they pitch the idea, I select either one or I combine multiple ones, and I say, okay, this is your line, start coming up with an idea, and I start working with my camera assistant people, and I start getting my cameras all ready and everything like that, and then I'll go back and listen. I mean, because we got 2 local people. One person's going to be up in Maine, I think, on vacation. I have another person that lives in Guadalajara who works with us.
Is that the editor?
No. That's one of the writers. So we
Okay.
basically have 4 writers typically, and I go in on that project, and I usually end up taking it and cleaning it up, putting it into a screenplay once we have the treatment written, and then I take that screenplay and review it with whoever's going to be my first AD and script supervisor, and we go from there. So. Yeah, we really try. I try to break things down so that people have specific jobs to do, so they don't have to concentrate too much on other things. But depending on the size of the crew, I mean, I've had small crews, and it's just, people are doing voiceovers and they're holding the boom and they are doing something else, and
Yeah.
But it really depends. I just happen to have a big enough crew where I can do that this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I usually try to say to people I think if you can. If you wear one hat on set, it's really, you know what you're doing, you're a rock star, it's fantastic. You wear 2 hats, you're pretty good. Once you put on that 3rd hat, you're drawing yourself thin. But I mean, it could also be that you're acting and then later editing, so then you're not at the same time, so, but that's the beauty and the curse of the 48 too. You got to work with what you have. People may call out that weekend, now I'm not feeling well, or as I say, someone gets a paid gig, they're taking that versus working for free on a 48 usually. But
and make a caterer part of your crew too.
I was just gonna say, what do you have lined up? Because I think people don't always really think about it, but feeding your crew and having your locations lined up is such an important thing. And I know some 48 teams try to get food catered, or they just have mom or somebody make it, which is fine too. But what do you have that lined up? And if not, why not yet? Because I think you should think about feeding your crew.
A fed crew is a happy crew.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's very important. I don't drink coffee, but I like my tea. You need to stay awake and be fed, and sugar and caffeine help those things.
Yes, and make sure somebody has craft services out of the back of their car, so when people are in between takes, things like that, they can go grab a bag of chips or a bottle of water or something like that, and take care of that, and then just make sure you've got a good meal in the middle of that, like a good lunch, like a buffet or something like that. Even if you have to just order it. I mean, I like I said, I have somebody on my team who's literally catering for me as part of our crew, so.
It's very smart. A happy crew is what you need.
I would also recommend trying to get sponsorship from, or get trade, from restaurants, delis, and things. They can just say, I'm going to put your name in our credits, or have something appear on screen, product placement or something.
But, or maybe you could use their location.
Or use their location.
Food.
That's true.
See? So, and if you, it's good to have those things lined up beforehand, because if you try to get them on Saturday morning, the chances are very slim that you'll be able to secure that. But I think with all your films over the years, you've had one location and then several locations. You had bikes going all over New Haven, in your first film. Did you secure those locations, or were you just literally riding around on your bikes? You could go in the parking lots and you just guerrilla'd it. We probably have a little bit of both, I'm sure here. But how did you go about thinking about getting all those different locations?
Yeah, I think we had some friends at the Bradley Street Bike Co-op in New Haven, and so that actually defined a big part of our plot, because that was the only place we really secured the film. And then, beyond that, we knew we needed a lot of shots of people biking. So we just, one of the crews just one afternoon just traveled all over the city, getting different shots.
And you filmed
I filmed 2 road movies on the road. Yes.
Wow.
So you think, okay, I've got a location secured. This year I'm just going to do it all in one location. It's going to be simple, and you pull road movie. And yes, you can have the road movie in one location. Has been proven to us.
You could have a road movie in one location and it's a bar.
Exactly.
And then it could go to Cannes.
Yeah.
That happens.
That happens too. But at that point it's okay, well, the whole thing is it's new, you know. We're like, okay, yeah, the location is now the car, and I've got like, we're gonna go from one destination to another and like film all the way on the way there or something. That's what we did the last time. The first time we drove back and forth across New Haven like 5 times. That was, yeah, because I think we shot it in order. Yeah.
Ties?
Ties.
Okay.
Yeah, Ties was mostly filmed in order because we were like racing the sun, you know, and it was like one day.
Right.
And so,
That makes
but
sense.
and this year I'm securing multiple locations because who knows?
You don't know what you're gonna get.
Nope.
And now last year you were just at the beach.
Yeah.
And did you plan that, or that just came up with sci-fi?
We had made sure that we were going to have one location. So we definitely took the idea of like doing kind of a chamber film kind of idea. So we didn't have to switch too many locations. I had also read a book from John Carpenter. And that was one of his biggest pieces of advice, was limit the amount of, and especially after the first year that we did it. We had a shot at East Rock Park, and we did a fight scene, and it took forever to try to get the fight scene, and we just did not have enough time to choreograph it. And our fight choreographer was great. We just didn't have the time to make it look as good as it should. And we took so much time on the fight scene, we almost lost our second secured spot, which was at the West Haven Library for an office scene. And then fortunately we're right outside on my driveway for the last scene. And yeah, I mean, I was down to the wire on that because we had all those different locations. I was trying to get everything done, and I was also doing, I didn't do any music for that year, so, but I was trying to get all the sound design done, and I only got about halfway done, but I was actually at the, I guess now it's the cellar. And
Yeah, it was the drop-off that area.
yeah, I was actually rendering my film at, like 15 minutes before drop-off time.
Yeah. Well, now we don't have that anymore. You don't have to drop off in person. It's all digital.
Thank goodness.
I like that a lot better. I think most teams like that a lot better, that you don't have to race to the location and hand me a flash drive anymore. I know my editors like that too. So
It's great. Although there is one, I do like being able to see everybody when you come back.
I mean, I miss that part because I think that's the best part of kickoff, that there is at least one representative from each team there, and that's very celebratory. And that's, I mean, really, that's the only time you see everybody, because the screenings, you might not see everybody because we'll have, 2 or 3 screening groups, and so not everybody stays for all of the screening groups. Just because, like, you'd be there all day. That's really only me that has to tend to do that. But I do think that, and I think we've talked about this before, that like I think we have a very supportive, creative community, like making the 48s, and just like in New Haven in general. And we're in Brantford, but like the New Haven outer lying community, like I think we're very supportive of each other. We don't tear down each other's films, because everybody's in the same boat, right? They're all making it over this, this time period with the same constraints. And the great thing is, like, you're screening at a movie theater a week later. Like, we screen these at the Bouche, which is the oldest theater in the country, and it's this gorgeous theater in Bridgeport that we've been lucky enough to screen at the last, I don't know, 9 years maybe? 8 or, most of the years I have been there. Like, once I got there, I stayed there. But I think that's, like, so many times you're trying to create a film and then nothing happens with it, or you just get to you can't show it on YouTube, or you could just show it to your friends, but like here we get to go celebrate it at a full-on movie theater and see what we've done. And I mean, like, do you do other things besides this, or is this like the only time you have your films up on screen?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, you work in film,
Yes.
During the day, but
Right.
at your day job.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've actually started just because I've always wanted to do it all my life. Now I've been inspired to actually do a startup production company, and through the 48, I've networked enough where I have I've made enough contacts where I could probably call people together, and we could all split our resources together, combine our resources, and shoot a nice 5-10 minute film over the course of a couple days, or maybe 2 or 3 weekends, and do something like that. And it's all because I was here, so now I've been able to network all over the place here.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic opportunity for anybody out there who's looking to get into film too. This is really a good opportunity to network.
Well, in networking, really, you can learn the different spots because, like, Kurt, I feel you've been different things on different teams, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's a good way for you to, train somebody new or to learn a new task on set. Like, it's 2 days. So and then you can also figure out if you can work with that person again, or if you don't want to work with that person again, because both happen. But it's really good, and it's so nice to have that opportunity where you can have it like fairly quickly and learn something. Like, because like, have you done like audio on some, and you're acting in some, and you're editing? Like you kind of run the gambit, right?
I've got to act on one last year, and that's because one of the other actors was kind of like in a COVID pod with, so it's like I'm gonna do a lot of close-up scenes. So we presented that to Solar Lumina. Like, we can act together because we're already like
you're already isolated.
We already
together.
have germs together, so we're okay with that. But I've been script supervisor. A couple years I got to work with a great guy, Skippy Adams, who has passed, but helping him with gore and horror makeup on Doug's one year, where the first year I did it, where we peeled off a woman's face.
Oh, yeah.
In the noir film we did, and there was one year that the art department was not needed at all, and I ended up just sitting there all day. So I've been all over the place with the stuff that I've done. Yeah, and so I've done a lot of stuff. I used to produce a lot of things for YouTube. Done a lot of stuff with community public access TV. Every once in a while I'll put together something just for fun and throw it up on YouTube. Right now I'm doing a lot of stuff with community radio. Nutmeg Junction, who the head of that, J. Timothy Quirk, does the writing for the Soul Lumina team. Yeah, so he runs that, and that's been something to do during COVID especially, but something I've really fallen in love with as well. So there's a lot of audio there. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No. That's I think that's interesting that you have so many different aspects of so many different teams. So what about you two? Do you?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, is this isn't the daytime stuff, right?
It's not, but we've definitely, as we've gone along, people have really wanted to try different things. So we've done some like little boot camps amongst ourselves, just to practice editing or acting, whatever, script writing. So we have one of the movies that we made as a practice on our YouTube channel, which is also the only other place that we sort of show our movies. So anyone that sort of is new to the group, or if someone's dating someone new, that's how they get introduced to the group. You have to watch all the Jabroni Studios films, and if you don't like them, you're probably not a good match for someone in our group.
That's a good test too. If you don't like us, just get out. You're done. So you had mentioned during COVID, so we still had the 48 happen, and all of you still took part in 2020. We were one of the 48. This has been around this is going to be the 22nd year in general. It's in about 130 cities around the world, and just year 12 here in Connecticut. But 2020, everything got different because, as you say, it's all about networking. It's about like seeing people and coming out to the kickoff event and having a great time. And we couldn't do that because everyone had to be inside. And I know your whole team isolated together, right? Like in preparation to make it. And then I think you guys had small sets and small casts and crews. But like, was that real? I mean, New Haven still had the same amount of teams. We still had our high 30 amount of teams that made the 48 even COVID. I think it was just that people were literally starving for that creative outlet to still do something, and even if it was, you know, in your own COVID bundle, you know, your own, you know, quarantine group, or if we had a lot of Zoom happening on those years. So like, what made you still want to do that even when the world was crumbling around us, literally?
Because it was crumbling. Right? I mean, that's really what it came down to. And I mean, thank goodness for technology too, because you know, my script supervisor worked through Zoom. I just plugged the output from the camera into a splitter, and I could have my monitor that I could use for, you know, for my shots, and then I could send everything off to my script supervisor who could keep track of everything for me. So that was really I just felt bad for him because I'm sure he's just sitting at home in front of the screen with the eyes glazing over. You know, not being on set is really tough. But yeah, I mean, we kept it really small that year.
It was you and your wife and
Lana
who literally phoned her lines in because she was on the radio.
Yeah.
Right.
She recorded her lines and then emailed them to us. Script supervisor on Zoom. Our sound person, who also did some voiceover, Sophia, she did. She was there, but she had already had COVID, and we like went through a whole thing, and you know, was testing negative at that point. So we were, you know, basically, so it was just the three of us in the basement, plus our script supervisor remote, plus Lana doing her lines remotely. So it was ended up working out okay. I just felt bad because we had a really killer script idea, film idea for a safety film that we'll probably end up doing later outside of the 48. But I just, you know, being the producer, I didn't want to put everybody at risk, so we just kept it small.
And you just had like cast of one.
Yeah,
well,
really a
one
cast
and
of,
a half.
Yeah, and my son as well. Yeah, and then plus the 2 on Zoom that we did that as well, right? And crew of 1.
And crew of 1. Yeah, just you.
Me, yeah.
Yeah. And you had people in your bubble.
Yes, yeah, we were a Jabroni bubble already, so.
So you had probably like 5 or 6 at least on camera that year, right? Like it was still.
Yeah, it was still a normal size for our team.
Yeah.
But.
So it wasn't that big of a difference. Everyone still just wanted to be creative, you know, no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the good part about the 48.
Maybe finding like locations was a bit more challenging that year.
Well, that's true. Places were closed. You had to. I think you filmed at your house.
Yeah.
You filmed at Jen's house.
Yeah.
You filmed at your bubble, I guess.
Yeah.
And now, which team were you on that year?
I was supposed to be on mics, but there was nothing.
The
walkie-talkies he used, I brought those over and dropped those off.
Yeah.
There wasn't really that much to do. It was wisely condensed the crew.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know, like, so I'm just looking. So that one, the film that won that year, like, so that was Robin Loyal, the contractor, and the prop was a top 10 list. So that was wide open. It could have been a list of anything, and some people had a start of a list, and some people showed a whole list. And the line was, has it really been 10 years? Because that was the 10-year anniversary. And I had all these 10-year anniversary plans that couldn't happen. So, because we couldn't even screen that year because I had a drive-in planned, and that's when like the hurricane or whatever happened, and all the trees went down and the park was closed. So I said, okay, it's on Facebook, and we just said, here it is, and I screened. And then we had the outdoor awards night, but that was when the box by the team that we made the puppet film last year won that year.
That's such a fantastic name for a team.
Well, I love that they the first year they have been a team for like 3 or 4 years. They didn't do it the last year. The last year they did was 2020, but they were UConn students, and they're like, we come from stores or whatever was their first name, but they had puppets in it. So the next year, the name of their team was We Made the Puppet Film Last Year. But they added puppets into it, which were, you know, if you've seen any of them, you know the puppets are pretty fantastic. I mean, who doesn't like a drunk puppet that's driving with a beer attached to his hair? It's hilarious. You know, and you remember it. That's a good part about the 48, like when something stands out and you, you know, easily remember that throughout the years. What's your favorite and worst 48 thing that's happened? All your eyes are bugging now. So, like, in your experiences, and while you're thinking about that, I'll say one about Ben. So, and I mention this a lot, that like your first year, if you have a problem during the 48 weekend, you can call the 48-hour hotline for assistance, which is my cell phone. So basically you call or text me and I try to answer your questions. And Ben, who I didn't really know, you know, at that point, because it was like your first year, says something about I think you sent me a picture. It said, like, is it okay to have these people as extras? And it was my brother and my almost sister-in-law, because they were getting married that weekend, the next weekend or whatever, at the screenings. And I thought that was very funny. And then I watched the film, and he put them on the cutting room floor. So he almost had my relatives in the film and then cut them out. Yeah. So I think that was a very funny 48 experience. And I always say that that's one of the funniest phone calls I've gotten on the 48-hour hotline. But, I mean, I know there are fantastic stories and horror stories that have happened over the 48 weekends. So who has a wonderful or terrible 48? I mean, and you've all come back, so it can't be that terrible, like whatever's happened, which is a good thing, too. Because we love to have our returning teams come back.
I can.
Go ahead.
So my favorite thing was I know you said it was really difficult to do, the fight in the woods with one of the actresses is an old friend of mine, Lana, and she's such a gentle thing, but watching her swing a sword around was really, really cool. So watching that fight scene is one of my favorite memories. But the worst is probably the year where I was art department and had nothing to do all day. So that. It was bored. Relaxing. I just kind of like sat around, tried to help people with other things, but yeah.
Well, that's part of the 48 too. You have to
you never know what's going to happen.
And see what's going to happen.
I don't know. The fight scene was really rough. But I think last year we actually had one of the worst experiences. I turned my back for a second, and the front leg, the sand came out from underneath the front leg. And it went down. Fortunately, I had insurance on the lens that I had rented for the lenses that I rented that year. So, and they had and I was able to continue because it had a nice like UV filter on the front. So it just grabbed the chunk of sand where the glass was and unscrewed the broken filter and was able to continue. So that was. I would say that was both the worst and the best thing, because the relief afterwards of realizing that my camera was not full of sand and that the lens and the filter actually protected everything was just absolutely. That was euphoria. That was actually everything was running. I was like, so.
I think one of the worst experiences was that first year when it unexpectedly downpoured for like an hour in the middle of the day, and we were planning on shooting outside, and it like totally scrapped everything on the timeline, and we just like it was just like despair. We were just like huddled on the steps of Fashionista, and we were just like, what do we do? And at that point we didn't have like the experience of being like, oh well, let's just do this, let's do something else, and we're just kind of like I think one of my memories, one of my like great memories, which was actually a horrible thing. It's really a horrible thing, but it still makes me laugh because it was the shot that we used when Matt punched David, accidentally hit him. It was like, the 1-inch punch, but they like somehow they connected, and like the sound was just right, Which is great because we missed the Foley for the fight scene later. I didn't actually have the Foley, so.
Did you use that take?
Yeah.
Sorry, David. I think maybe like one of the worst things actually turned out to be good because it was a great learning experience was our second film. We did not have a boom mic. And so listening to all the dialogue back, we had to basically dub everything, which definitely I think stands out to us, maybe not to others as much, but that definitely was a great learning experience to always get and use a boom mic.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite moments was I was probably taking like a nap or something Saturday night, and then kind of like getting up a little bit to come into the editing room and realizing that a couple of my teammates were writing the Jabroni auto theme, and just like had no idea that I was coming, and just like be like, wait, you guys just wrote this song in like the past couple hours? So.
And it's still in my head all these years later.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think audio is such a big part of the 48. You have to have good audio. It's good to have a boom. It's good to have, it's good to incorporate music, which all of you usually do, into your films, because I think that sets a good tone for the film. And we do have an award for, best score, best song. That changes from year to year, depending on, I don't always have original, original songs. But we have to start wrapping up, and I thank everybody for coming and even coming via Zoom to spend time to talk about the 48. I'm glad you all love the 48 and keep coming back, because I think it's a good experience. We try to keep it positive and uplifting, and really have a good creative community environment going. And you can still sign up. We were filming the last weekend in July, and you could go on the 48-Hour website, which is www.48hourfilm.com/New Haven, and you can sign up your team. I have a couple more events coming up where you can maybe mix and mingle and join a team if you wanted to join a team. But right now we have 21 teams. According to before I left the office, we were at 21. So it's, we've got a good group. We usually we'll probably get at least 15 more. So if it goes along the lines that it usually has. But before we go, what's one tip that you could give someone who wants to do a 48? And again, I'll let you think about it. Because I have a tip from Wax Idiotical Films, which has done the New Haven 48 3 or 4 times. They won one year and then went to Cannes from New Haven. We've had that happen twice. But their tip for doing a 48 is to just say marshmallow. So that's a code word that they have on their team, that if somebody says it, don't ask why, just do another take. So you're not calling out somebody saying, do another one for audio, or, oh, that line sucks. There's no blame. It's just like, we need another take. And they just accept it and do it. Now, they have made about close to 40 48s. So they, are like a well-oiled machine. And so that's how they came up with that tip. But when they said that tip, I've stolen it and tried to pass it along to as many teams and people as I can, because I think it's good to just really respect everybody on the cast and crew and just be like, we need to do this again. For whatever reason, we need to do this again. So do any of you have a little helpful tip or insight that we can give to these people that are watching that want to maybe take part in a 48? Or should they just do it?
I'm going to say my first tip is minimize dialogue, minimize your locations, and just try to make things as simple as possible.
It's a 4 to 7 minute film. Got to be quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try as much as you can to do a show, not tell.
Show, not tell.
And if
That's
you have to do
tip.
exposition in a voiceover, God help you. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm literally going to say the same thing. Yeah, less dialogue. Yeah, 'cause you don't realize how quickly the dialogue fills in, and then you have a movie that's all dialogue. And then having one location just makes things 100% easier.
Yeah, our teammate Kaylee calls it, and we've taken to using it as shots over plots. So don't fill it up with dialogue. It's like you said, show, don't tell.
Preparation. Anything that you can do before that's not allowed, if that is allowed to do beforehand, do it.
So you can line up your crew,
Line
you
up your
can line up
crew,
your cast, you can
line
test
up your
your
shit.
equipment,
Yep.
you can order your crafty and get your food lined up. You can
Yeah.
think about what you want to do with the genres,
Yes.
but you just can't.
Right. Like even like it's fun playing, like pull them out of a hat and playing a game of like, what would you do? Which one would you rather do? Yeah, fun creative games, but yeah, not the actual writing.
Not the actual writing. No, we can't do that. What about you, Kurt?
Absolutely keep it simple, but I just want to, anyone who wants to do this, even if you've never taken a single video in your life, you should just do it. Just go for it. You'll have the weekend that is both amazing and moments of despair, and it'll just be wonderful. And yeah, I think you're better for it by going through that. And shooting days are the best days. Editing days are the worst days. Oh, that's the other thing is, you can't fix it in post. You don't have time, so get it right on set. That's something I would say.
No, that's a good point. There's
Fix it in pre.
Fix it in pre. There we go. And we have had teams from grade schoolers up to senior citizens, so I get the whole range. And most people do come back to do it again, which is always a good thing too. We like to keep everybody coming back and keep everybody having fun. Well, again, I guess we're about ready to wrap up. So thank you all for coming. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple weeks at the new Armada Brewery. That's where kickoff's going to be. So in River Street, New Haven. It's much bigger than they used to be. But we will see you, all of you there. And thanks for coming. And as I say in all my 48 emails, keep it rolling. That's what I do. That's how we ended up.
Sorry about that. Lost her for a second. Yes, that's fine.
What's that in your hand?
I don't even know what this is.
Opera glasses.
That's pretty keen.
What's their story?
You mean how someone maybe looked through these to see what they might have seen?
What might they have seen?
Opera.
It's the best I can do.
You're a saint. A great secret is to be very quiet and very deliberate in all of your movements. Never hurry. Never pull up by jerks. Do not talk and never move your feet.
Becoming boxer and billionaire's son, Vincent Bolton, has stepped into the ring.
You went to the Olympic trials 4 consecutive times without making it to the actual games. What kept you coming back?
I'm driven, Penelope. I don't stop until I've reached my goals.
Anyway, could you walk our audience through the process of purchasing a country?
I scrolled through my favorites, selected a suitably aesthetic area, and made an offer.
Says, welcome to Boltonia. But last week, this was Ukraine. My credit card stopped working. Even my TikTok says not working in this country. My followers, what will they do? I'm kind of a big deal.
There you have it, folks. We wish you the best of luck, Vincent. We hope you make Boltonia proud.